listening to AstroDetectives, where longtime friends Scott and Sarah try to debunk
or prove
the ancient practice of astrology.
I'm Sarah Hartshorn, the astrologer.
And I'm Scott Randall, the skeptic. Each episode, I'll give Sarah two natal charts. One chart matches the exact moment of birth for our mystery guest, and the other is just a red herring.
I'll use astrology to detect which chart belongs to our guest. And with a little help from my underground network of AstroDetectives, this case is as good as solved.
Oh, we'll see about that. Hey, AstroDetectives fans, listeners, viewers on YouTube, we are back. It is a very special end of the season episode. Sarah, welcome to the last case before vacation time.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I love doing this show. It's just, life's really lifing right now. I'm coming to you from my iPad because my laptop's broken. So there's just stuff has really hit the fan over here. So
You're just going to limp across the finish line of season 2.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to just having a little break, but I'm totally excited. I'll be back and ready for season 3.
Oh, so. Boy. And did you see this coming in the stars at all?
I see things coming and then I try to look at them optimistically, but I knew it was going to be bumpy towards the end of the year, but I tried to just think it'll be great. It'll be fine. But yeah, Mars is my Time Lord this year and he's doing a lot of funky things and I'm not crazy about it. So
Time Lord, that's the first time I've heard that. I'm excited to hear about Time Lords.
Yeah,
Astrology always has an extra wrinkle up its sleeve that you can learn more about.
Yeah, it's never ending.
Well, as we're ending season 2, we would be remiss if not to mention the record is before this episode. We've got 86 total votes, 47 correct for a grand 54.6 winning percentage. How we feeling about those stats? Going to maybe bump them up today.
You said 46.
I said 54.6.
Oh, 54.6. I mean, listen, it was hard fought. Okay. I did my best. We all did our best. I'm proud of that. Sure. Yeah.
The skeptic community is proud as well. We're all thrilled with these results. Well, it'd be nice to go out on a high. So for this last case, who do you have helping you this time?
Well, we have our wonderful Logan Richmond back with us, who helped us out on a case earlier this year. How are you doing, Logan?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you back. You and I have been communicating recently because we're getting ready for our next NORWAC experience.
I know, that's only 6 months out now.
Is it?
I think so.
Because it's next Memorial Day, so...
It seems like only last week that we did the NORWAC recap episode, which listeners can go back and listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Logan, so happy to have you here today. And do you want to get into the chart, Scott?
We can. Anytime we have a returning guest, I always like to look at sort of...
Go ahead, yeah.
Sometimes there's good luck and there's bad luck. And Logan, the first time you were on, unfortunately, you missed that one. But I was looking at previous guests, and about half the time that we have returning guests, half the time they're 1-1, and half the time they're either 0-2 or 2-0. So
we've only had one astrologer that I think is 2-0.
Oh, really?
I think most have been 1 for 1 or like 1 out of 2. And
a lot of 1-1s, and then 2, unfortunately, 0-2s that I remember.
Yeah.
But, I like your odds.
So what you're saying is no pressure.
No pressure, but I think you have a 2/3 chance. If I'm just strictly speaking statistics, like if we're at Vegas, I think you have 2/3 chance to be 1-1 versus, yeah. But that would be, but right now you're at 50-50 because, so who knows?
I will try to do better than a coin flip.
That's the goal. That's the goal of the show.
Yes.
All right. Well, what are these two charts looking like for you guys?
Okay, well, just to remind the audience, you can go to astrodetectivespod.com to download our case file so you can play along and look at the charts that we're looking at today. But today we have a Leo sun with a Leo moon and a Taurus rising, facing off with a Sagittarius sun and a Virgo moon and Virgo rising. So that's what we've got. And I guess I'll tell you my thoughts. And then Logan, I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about these two charts. But yeah, the impression that I'm getting the Leo chart, Taurus rising is, well, first of all, that person has their chart ruler in the 3rd house in Cancer, Venus in Cancer. And so this could be one of those podcasts. We've interviewed a lot of podcasters. The 3rd house has a lot to do with writing, communication, speaking, things of that nature. And so I feel like if it's another podcaster that we're interviewing, this could be a chart for them. But I also feel like some other interesting things about this chart is this person has some aspects that make me think that they may have come from a wealthy family or a prominent family, or there's something really important about their family because they have a lot going on in their 4th house. But I feel like they may want to do something differently than what their family has, like, for example, like if you have a family that has always done like a certain family business, but then the child wants to do something completely different. That could be this case.
Like podcasting.
Yeah.
No family says, son, we're proud of you.
Yeah.
Tell us the name of your podcast again.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. I feel like this person could be very prone, like with the Taurus and Leo energy, they could be very prone to like rich foods and high living and enjoying, like indulging in life. Versus like our other chart, we've got like a lot of Sag and Virgo energy, which is mutable signs. And that person is somebody who might be wired a little bit differently. They might be a little bit more health conscious, a little bit more restless, anxious. Their chart ruler is Mercury in Capricorn in the 5th. So there could be something about their life that is really life theme that is really tied to like children or sports or acting or just having fun, enjoying life, romance, dating, things like that. And this person might change jobs a lot, or they might have like a lot of the Virgo risings that we've had on the podcast tend to be people who have had like a ton of different jobs, or they like to work in a very busy environment, things like that. I feel like if it's probably not. I was initially when I was looking at this, I was like, this person could be like a salesman. So I was like, oh, I wonder if this is another solar salesman that you work with.
There's a higher probability on this show that it's going to be a solar salesperson or a podcaster.
Yeah. So I was feeling like, oh, this could be the solar salesman, whereas the other one could be the podcaster. But this person's a little bit more like, I think, practical and on the go and moves around a lot and a little bit more down to earth. Whereas I feel like the Leo Taurus person might be a little bit more maybe someone who could do modeling, or someone who's comes from wealth, or just more used to like higher society living, maybe. So yeah. How about you, Logan? What was standing out to you?
Well, you know me, I tried to bring my intuitive lens to it and look at the soul all about in these two charts. And the sense that I came up with the Sagittarius chart was I felt like I was getting the vibes of a spiritual warrior type of person, someone who is focused on, duty, honor, searching for truth, searching for higher knowledge, that kind of energy. The Leo chart, the vibes that I was feeling, I don't want to paint it in a negative light, but the first thing that came to mind was, I am my own worst enemy. There might be perhaps a tendency to let passion override logic and reason. And that might be a challenge for that person throughout their life.
Great takes. I love both of those. That's like I like the angle that you come from.
Well, let's just hope that our guest slots into one of those really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to name the two charts. So what was you used the word for the first one that was interesting, a spiritual warrior?
Because go ahead.
Oh, and then in the second one, compared to a spiritual warrior, was there a name? Or they're their own worst enemy sometimes, but was there sort of like if you had to give them a name? I'm going to put you on the spot here.
What's coming to mind is desperately seeking passion.
like one of those ads you see in the newspaper on Craigslist. Desperately seeking passion.
Or trying to embody passion might be a better way to put it.
An embodiment of passion.
I hope.
Yeah. Or it's a podcaster.
I'm
just kidding.
No passion allowed.
Which they could be either one of those. Yeah. And if they're born into wealth, then maybe we need to ask about some help funding the show. Say, hey, if you have any wealthy benefactors that sign on to patreon.com/AstroDetectives and show us how much you appreciate this show. Well, I think we've got two interesting characters to look forward to. Only one of them is going to join us after this break, unfortunately. But I'm looking forward to seeing which one it is. Anything else we want to touch on?
I don't think so. I'm just excited to meet our guest today.
Sarah, I will do my best to help you this time.
Hey, I'll do my best as well. That's all we can do.
All right.
That's all I expect. Just the best effort.
The best.
I'll be doing my best over here too, for whatever capacity I can. Hitting record, asking some questions, and then staying out of the way.
Yeah.
And then going to break when we're supposed to. Fine. Okay. We'll see you guys right after this with our guest. Hey, listeners. We're not just a podcast that tests astrology. We're an independent detective agency. That means we rely on you to help us keep the show running.
Exactly. By joining Astro Detectives on Patreon, you can support our mission to finally prove astrology is real.
Or, completely debunk it.
Here we go again.
One thing we can agree on, Astro Detectives is the only place you'll find astrologers and skeptics working together, like a buddy cop movie you didn't know you needed.
And trust me, detective work takes time, gathering evidence, late night stakeouts, solving cases, especially when Mercury's retrograde.
Okay, you can't blame Mercury.
The first step is easy and free. Just follow Astro Detectives on Patreon to get access to our debrief episodes where the conversation continues after each case ends. We break down what went right and what went wrong.
And if you want to fast track your training, become a rookie detective for only $3 a month. You'll unlock exclusive bonus episodes, plus early releases and the top secret case files sent straight to your inbox.
Or for just $1 a month, we'll make you an Astro intern. No compensation per se, but hey, you'll gain valuable detective experience and that warm, fuzzy feeling knowing you're helping us keep the lights on.
So if you like what we're doing and want to support us, head over to patreon.com/AstroDetectives and join the investigation today. Welcome back, everybody. We are joined now with our guest this time. It's Chris. Welcome to Astro Detectives.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
The first place we always start is, do you have any tattoos?
I do not have any tattoos.
Okay, and then that's easy right there. Sometimes people get into describing the tattoos, and that takes a minute. Clothing choice, what are you currently comfortable, or how would you describe what you're wearing?
What I'm wearing pretty much black head to toe, except for my sneakers, which are gray for comfort.
All
And can you
right.
talk a little bit about the art behind you? It looks like you have some interesting stuff back there.
Sure. Let me just make sure, listener, I've been briefed not to give away anything about my life. So let me just make sure as I look. So this is I also work in podcasting. This is the album or the show art for a show called Jupiter Saloon, which is an audio drama about a dive bar in space where you can settle your tab with a good story. This is the Improbable Places Poetry Tour. I come from the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast now, but there's a bridge between Salem, Massachusetts, where we usually live, and Beverly, Massachusetts. And Colleen Michaels from Montserrat College put together this lovely Improbable Places Poetry Tour that I was a part of. And then this is a show that I helped develop and launch and wrote some episodes for called Disgraceland, which is like a rock and roll true crime narrative podcast.
Perfect transition, because we're going to ask about your career and what you do for work. And it sounds like podcasting, there's some poetry in there.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you describe what you do?
If I was going to put it into one word, it would be writer. And that qualifies me to put it into one word because I am a writer. It's the right word. And every year is a little bit different. Sometimes we're doing some video game stuff. Sometimes we're doing some podcasting, fiction, poetry, some brand strategy and copywriting. And every year is like a little bit of a different blend. I have an agency called, am I allowed to say my last name? My last name will be on here, right?
Totally. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
This is where we get into it.
So my last name is O'Keefe with two F's, like Georgia O'Keefe, and no one ever spells it right. And so for a long time, my creative agency was called O'Keefe Creative, LLC. And I simplified it this past year. I turned it into OK Creative because everyone can spell OK Creative. And so it's OK Creative, the language agency. And so versatile language-based services and deliverables is kind of what we do.
And that's a catchy name. I'm going to remember that.
I appreciate that.
What do you like, kind of what motivates you about that? What do you feel especially good at? And what do you find rewarding in that work?
I think it's probably the only thing I'm actually any good at. I've built a career sort of on top of that, but that core competency of I don't know if it's mastery. Maybe on a good day it's mastery, but if at the very least it's playfulness and love of language, whether as a reader or as a creator or as an editor, now as like a sharer of recommendations, as I'm an indeterminate age, but I'm old enough to have read some books and have some younger people who might want a recommendation now and then. And, that's a fun thing to be able to do, to be a little bit of a curator. So yeah, I think just really playing with the language, you can, if you put the right combination of words together, you really can, I mean, probably shouldn't use cliches, but you can move mountains, right? And if I had more time to work on what I just said, I would have come up with something better than moving mountains. But at the end of the day, so but yeah, the right combination of words can inspire, can evoke emotion, can stimulate some sort of action, can elicit number of responses. It can persuade. It can embolden. Language is still cool. I know people aren't reading as much anymore, but this is still a language-based medium that we're in right now in podcasting. Even if folks are watching it on YouTube, a lot of podcast consumption and discoverability is happening on YouTube now, but it's still a conversation, right? And that's, although I've built some technical skills as a producer and a sound designer, and design chops as a creative director and things like that, it really always comes back to language and narrative for me, because it's my core competency. And it sounds like I'm getting paid by the word right now, by the way I answered your question. So
yeah, no, at first you started with one word, writer, and then we got to flesh it out really, and really filled in some of those gaps. And I was going to ask about work history a little bit, but you kind of mentioned, creative director and some other things. Are there any other hobbies or other areas where you find yourself really spending a lot of time, or other talents or interests?
It's related, but music. I've been a musician. Am I allowed to talk about my family life at all?
100%. Yeah. Just
my wife.
Yeah. No birthdays.
My wife and I are. We are both songwriters, and so that's a part of it. I love basketball, playing it and watching it. Not anything special, but it's almost catechism at this point, like going to and shooting 100 jump shots and thinking about, wrapping my head around whatever I'm trying to do or to unlock. It's a nice place to do that. I love to ride my bike. I'm in LA now, so I'm still kind of feeling that out. It's a little weird around here, being out on the streets on a bike. I don't know. Got to find my protected little alleyways that I can ride in.
At least they paint the bike lanes green out here. Some other cities, you're just on your own, but here they at least try to protect the bikers. I think.
Yeah,
but there are a lot more cars to dodge.
But it is wild in these streets. I've definitely had a couple of Mad Max moments so far. It feels good though. It feels good to just be lawless, driving around in the streets of Los Angeles. I'm ready for it.
Can I ask you mentioned music and songwriting. Can you tell us like a little bit about that, like the genre and kind of like what type of music you write?
Sure. My first band was a sci-fi horror noise rock band, and I had horrific stage fright, and I started later than other people. Is that saying too much?
No. Was there a date? Was there a date that the stage fright started? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Well, there was an age that I got. There was an age that I got over it.
Okay. Do you know what year? Kind of what year did you feel like you got over it?
It would have been maybe 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, 2006, 2007, and so, not got over it immediately, but decided to start getting over it, and still had a lot of touch and go shows where my pick hand would freeze up or something, or I wouldn't be able to like manipulate the guitar the way I was supposed to. Really, really bad stuff, and then kind of got better with it, got more comfortable, which allowed me to get into quieter music because I didn't feel like I had to cover everything up with like a projection light show and, distorted loud guitars. And then I got more into, I guess you would call it like indie folk sort of thing. And a couple bands in between as well. And after, and I still write, not as much as I used to. There was a period of time where I was writing 100 songs a year. It was a very fertile time, and it was very therapeutic. It wasn't just art for art's sake, a lot of that stuff. It was at a time in my life that music really helped me process things and different phases of things, and not always the most pleasant things, but music was there to be a conduit for those feelings and to turn them into something at least therapeutic, hopefully tuneful and melodic and listenable and interesting for other people. But I know that it helped me at least. And that's my wife and I sort of met through music. So that, that's a big part of our story as well.
And you said
go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I should just say, and you said you're a poet as well, or involved with poetry somehow?
I have written some poetry. I've even put out a book. I think I might be a poet at this point, like it or not. Yeah, I'd say I'm a poet.
Cool.
I don't know what the threshold is, but it sounds like you've met the be a poet threshold.
I wrote some poetry about a breakfast burrito that I had on York Boulevard in LA the other day, newly transplanted here. And, I like a lot to write about food, I suppose. And especially breakfast. Now that I think about it. Yeah, there's a lot of breakfast poems.
It's a good creative time. First thing in the morning while you're eating.
Yeah.
First cup of coffee.
Yeah. first cup of coffee. I'm really enjoying. And now, like, for it to be November and it still be so warm. I've spent my entire adult life in the Northeast. So I'm like, there's an orange tree in my backyard. And every day I go outside, I'm like, look, an orange tree. And it's like still magical to me. And I think if I live here for 20 years from now, when I'm whatever age that is, because we don't know, I will still walk out and I will say, look, an orange tree. Hey, look, a pomegranate tree. Yeah, we got a pomegranate tree too. That's crazy. Like, I didn't have a pomegranate till I was a certain age.
Same.
But I wasn't a young man by the first time I had a pomegranate.
That sounds like a poem.
Well, Logan's joining us from Minneapolis, so don't make him too jealous about the orange trees in Southern California during the winter time.
Yeah, we get dark at 5:00 now.
Oh, we do too, but at least then we can go in the backyard and get an orange.
Yeah, I can't do that. No.
Yeah, you could heat up. I could make an orange fire and warm my hands on it. I could just burn oranges in the backyard.
What a waste of oranges. It's just it's such an abundance. Okay.
So many.
How would your friends describe you?
I think loyal. I think uncomplicated. Now, maybe more complicated then, whenever then was. We've got like a good cohort of friends that we've kind of gone through different life phases together, and from really young and wild to not as young and a little more stable and family oriented and things like that. So there's a fondness that we all have for each other and a nostalgia, but also the desire to like move forward and find new ways to connect as, adults and that sort of thing. So I think my friends and I love, I'm lucky to have a lot of good relationships, and there's a lot of closeness. There's a good amount of people that I at least text with every single day, if not a few times a week. Ongoing threads and email threads. Like, we've got a terrible band name of the week email thread that's been going on for like probably 11 years or something. That's just, every time we see a band name that makes us angry, like we just kind of throw it in there. And I think my friends and I are unguarded in our fondness for each other.
And they would describe you as that, as an unguarded is another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big hugger, love to host, love to cook for everybody, love to have people together. Got several different kind of like cohorts of friends where we travel to see each other every year, and we are very proactive. And even though we're not in the same towns, we're always trying to find ways to be closer or spend more time together or be there for each other, good times and bad and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How would you handle difficult emotions, whether it's anger, frustration, sadness? What is kind of your process of working through a difficult emotion?
Well, it's gotten better, tell you that much. I used to be a little more fiery, and now I'm better at taking a beat and taking a breath. I mean, I never was, never like put my hands on anybody or anything, but I, like to let the world know what I think if I get stuck behind a slow driver, or perhaps, something doesn't go my way. Used to be much more vocal about it. I think I've chilled out. But there's still that impulse. I've had to build a toolkit around, taking a breath. We've got the fiery Irish thing. So, gotten a lot better.
The O'Keefe comes out.
Yeah, the full O'Keefe comes out. I'm from a bunch of fiery Irish folks, little tribe of them.
Well, that transitions us into childhood and upbringing. What were you like as a kid? What did you like doing? And what was your kind of childhood experience like?
It was very structured. I was very structured from a young age as far as like routine goes. I had my chair, I had my table, I had like my things the way that I wanted them. I wanted, to relax a certain way. And I'm talking about when I was like, well, wait, do I say the age or do I say what year it was? From a young age.
Yeah.
And listener, I'm sorry. Listener, I'm sorry.
See, this is great.
There's,
like as a wordsmith and lover of language, this is challenging you to use different words to describe your childhood than you normally would. It was 1987 when I had my own desk and my own chair.
I'm trying to give the Astro Detectives the astrological
you can just
forensic
say,
materials that they're asking for. But I'm sorry, Sarah, what'd you say?
I'm sorry. You can just say like when I was a toddler or when I was,
in my teenage years.
Yeah,
from a young age, like pre 6 years old, I already had very firm habits established. And
what is sorry, go ahead.
But there's a famous story in my family of like my grandparents coming to visit when I was very, very young. And, my grandmother sat in my chair, my little plastic chair where I would like eat my spaghetti with my buddy and whatever. And, I was like, hey, grandma, that's my chair. Like, I gotta sit there. I gotta sit there now. And like, those grandparents aren't with us anymore, but they did remind me of that time, right up until the end, that they never really got over that one. So that was a formative, but I think that was an example of like, I had like I wasn't always like super go with the flow for that stuff. Now, but creatively and process wise, it's interesting. I always say that I have like my Irish side and I have my German side, and my Irish side is like generative and go with the flow and let's see what happens. And then the German side is like it says like, do not cross. We can't cross here because like it says do not cross, even if there are no cars anywhere. So my wife does a good job, I think, of loosening me up with some of that stuff.
Okay. What were your parents like? You mentioned like, what did they do? And maybe what kind of influences did they have on you?
Yeah, my mother was is very creative, and she taught me how to frame a photo, and she taught me how to type correctly, which seemed like, well, what's the point? You start typing, at least for me, I was like, hunt and peck. No, hey, no shame for the hunt and peckers out there. Like, it's fine. You can hunt, you can peck, you can do whatever. But she taught me, home row and how to type and returning and the FFF and, doing that kind of stuff. So big at an early age, getting my hands on a keyboard, I think was huge. Getting my mind to think about composition was huge. And then my father, and then both of my parents are big listeners of music. And so learning to love different kinds of music, learning to have headphones on at a very young age and listen to vinyl and listen to 8-tracks, and listen to and I'm not, no spoilers, but like 8-tracks were not really around when I was coming up. Like they were an archaic technology. Just to point out that I wasn't born then. And then my father put a guitar in my hand and he taught me how to play music. And so there was this fandom of music and art and the stories behind these bands and things. And then me, as you get older, I started bringing popular things into the house, that you start getting exposed to. And there was always space for that, even if it wasn't my parents' favorite thing. It was like, how do these things sit next to each other? How does a modern act that I might like as a young person, how is that situated with the Rolling Stones or with the Beatles or whatever? So always a very, very, very creative household when it came to the nuts and bolts of like how to make stuff, whether it was, how to load a camera or how to type, and then how to make a chord, and then how do those chords if you want and you want to turn that into music, this is the way that you do it. And then both my parents are very hard workers, and so I got a lot of that work ethic from them too, of just like, getting a motor, of like having industriousness. Even if you were just later on, even if it was like playing in a band that nobody cared about, it was still like, okay, well, this is, we're practicing twice a week and we're going to do this. It's a lot of work to be in a bad band. Anyone out there can tell you. It's not easy to be even in a not good band. And it always makes me sad when I see a band that's just like not pulling it off. I'm like, oh man, so many practices to like not
or were there practices? Sometimes I wonder, how often do they get together?
Sometimes you can tell, you're like, oh, they worked really hard on this, and it makes me so sad. I'm like, oh, it's not fair. It's not fair.
I would almost rather see a sloppy bad band than a really tight bad band. Totally,
because when you're like, wow, they're pulling off everything that they want to be pulling off right now, and it's not coming. It's not. Yeah, it's better if like the guitars are out of tune and the equipment's breaking and the bassist is drunk and the singer can't remember the words and like that's better than like, yeah, to your point, if they're really tight and there's no oomph there, there's no spark.
There's something more tragic about that. You mentioned your wife. This is moving on to marriage, romantic partners. Like, can you kind of describe, who you're typically drawn to, and then kind of who you're with now, and what drew you to that person? Or I can condense it. I can just say, talk about your wife.
Yeah, I think for love interests, and this goes the same for friends and even for projects and like business stuff. I liked becoming familiar with different kinds of people and spending, like different archetypes, not that you think about it in the time, but your friends, like you have like your friend who's like a wild card, right? And then your friend who's, a badass, and your friend, and you develop all this cast of characters. And then as you get, and that can happen in love as well, different kinds of people. And then at least as I age, like I was less interested in the wild card friend or the friend or the badass friend or whatever. And it was more about stability and collaboration and safety and that kind of thing. And I think that I took that journey in love as well, where I really found a great partner who we share a lot of formative energies as far as like music and social life and being out and loving, we spent a lot of time in different cities in New York and Boston and Montreal and LA. And we love that part of life, traveling around and finding, new places to go and whatnot. But it's all rooted in a very sort of like safe and calm, understanding space where we both have notebooks all over the place that we're able to, like we're both creative. We understand the process. We understand how to make music, for example. Like if she releases a song that is sort of a breakup song or whatever, like I know she knows how to do the work to get there. Like I call it creatively. And I talk a lot with my creative friends about this, about as you get older, like, yeah, it's great to like, when you're a young person to go out and like get your heart broken every weekend and do this. And it's so inspiring, and you can paint the best art and you can write the best poems and everything. Cause your life, you're just a raw nerve all the time. But like, as you get older, you have to learn how to write about falling down the stairs without throwing yourself down the stairs. And you have to figure out how to triangulate those energies in such a way that you can write, like Stephen King is not out murdering people all the time. I don't think. Maybe he is. but I don't think he is. I don't think he's an evil interdimensional spirit. These prolific artists are able to triangulate those feelings and do that. That's, I feel like that's a big part of what we're able to do. Although I will say, once I did find, I was looking for a notebook, and I opened it up and I found these lyrics, and they were like, I was like, oh my God, like I have to try harder, like as a husband, like she's so sad. And then I realized they were Kate Bush lyrics, because she was like learning a song, or like a Kate Bush song. And I was like, oh no, I'm fine. Like I don't have to try. I'm fine.
But she's still learning that song.
And
that song was drawing her attention.
But
just never stop trying in the
they're
relationship.
Kate Bush lyrics, so I'm fine. I'm perfect. I don't need to worry about anything ever.
On children, any kids? If not, what are your thoughts on kids?
I don't trust them. First of all, they're dirty and they never have any money, and I don't like them, and they're here to replace us. I do not have any kids, but we really love our nieces and nephews, and spend time with them. I love sending them postcards and doing like physical things with them, because like everything is so developing a show on technology and behavior right now. So I've been doing a lot of this reading, like Anxious Generation and the great rewiring of children and whatnot. And so like I love to send them letters or send them postcards and things like that, even when we're at a distance, like figure out a way to mail them something tactile, something physical, something they can hold, something that isn't just another piece of, because like people are like reduced to content at this point, right? Like if they might not know the difference between like me and an Instagram reel if I'm just calling, so I have to send them stuff.
That's right. Your influencers don't send you postcards. So this is a real person who's actually in my life, not just a personality on the screen.
Yes. But I do tell him to smash that like button. My little nephew.
That was the best answer to children that I think we've heard yet.
I have to write that down.
Oh,
I have to.
That's great.
That's hilarious.
I'll try to win other questions as well. I didn't realize that this was.
Yeah, so far you're 5 for 12 on best answers. So not bad. We've had a lot of guests, and above average overall.
All I'm seeking to be is slightly above average, and I'll be okay.
All right.
Actually, I know you were kind of joking, but is winning important to you? Are you competitive?
Yeah, I think so. But somewhat selectively. If winning matters to me, it matters a lot. But some things I don't like. I'm not like I don't like gamble, or I don't care about certain things. But like if we're playing wiffle ball, like I'll get up for that. I'll get pretty serious about that. Or even with myself, if I'm doing some sort of measurable activity, like like the crossword puzzle, like today I was doing like the Monday crossword puzzle, and I'm like, I have like a certain time that I'm like trying, I'm like, okay, go. And like, I try to like bang through like the crossword puzzles like under a certain time. So that's probably a little bit competitive. But I'm not like, I don't think toxically competitive about everything. Like if you saw that Michael Jordan documentary where he was just like making up games to like beat, he's like, like, let's throw this quarter at the wall and whoever gets it closest is like, it's like, that's not a game. Like you're just bullying an usher at the United Center or whatever. Like you're just like screaming at this man. What are you doing? It's not like that, but if I'm competitive at all, I'm competitive.
On money and debt, are you competitive? No. How do you feel about just the aspect of money? Do you save up for things? Do you like to spend it as it comes in? What is your relationship like with money and debt?
Well, I'm a small business owner and running a creative agency, so I have to be creative with things sometimes, right? Because it's not always like a fixed like I'm not getting a salary necessarily at this phase of my life. I have had jobs where I do get a salary, and that's very different. So I think just as every week is every day, sorry, every year is a little bit different creatively as far as the projects. I can't always save the way that I want to save, or earmark the way I want to earmark when I have a salary. If I'm a creative director at a branded audio agency, or I'm doing, a director of content at a digital health company or something like that, which are roles that I've had. That's a little bit different, because it's like, okay, this is going into the IRA, and this is going into the 401k, and this is the going into the vacation fund, and we'll understand that. It can be a little more wild when you're running a small business, because your projections might be low, or they might be high, or they might be right on, and it can be forecasting can be forecasting can be like a little unpredictable sometimes, where a project stops, two project stops, and then so February is much, much leaner. And then those two come in with all the work that you were planning on doing in March. And all of a sudden, whatever is happening in March is, you have 4 times the revenue. So you always have to manage that. And I think the result is that I tend to be a little more cautious than I used to be, where it was like, like $1,000 can mean a lot of different things when you're running a small business. It's like, okay, that's already earmarked for this, or now I might as well get ahead in my in like my office rent or whatever, and I might even be able now I can take a vacation there. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
It sounds very planned. It's not like you're just frivolous, though. It sounds very structured and planned.
Right, because it used to be like, oh my God, like me with the orange tree, like, right? I'd be like, oh, look, an orange tree, or like, look, like $1,000. And it's like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, that doesn't mean you get to buy $1,000 worth of stuff. Like, you can't just go like
to the candy store.
Yeah, to the paintball store, like, whatever, like to the travel agent or whatever. So yeah, I've learned to be much less frivolous and much more controlled, and be prepared for a rainy day. Less of a grasshopper and more of an ant, to pull up the old Aesop. By the way, I got Aesop's Fables for like my niece and nephew. Man, that's like, there's like some rough stuff in there. Like it's like tough. It's like a soldier came back from the war with the thirst, and he like locked his wife in the shed, and he learned, it's like this, like like I was like trying to like read these things to them. It's like,
wait, what happened? Now we're invested.
Well,
what happened to the wife in the shed?
I kept like moving through it. It's like a pilgrim walked by and came upon a man beating his horse to death, like stuff like that. And it's just like, whoa, like this isn't like good bedtime imagery. So be careful if you're going to buy Aesop's Fables for unabridged for a 6-year-old, because it might be.
But they're not going to find that on TikTok.
No.
Have you ever carried debt or struggled with that in any way?
Yes, because I went to college.
Mm-hmm. So you still have student loans?
I do not have student loans anymore.
Oh, okay. But that was an issue at one point.
Yes. And it is an issue we should talk about in this country.
Mm-hmm.
The little bit that we can, we try to talk about it on AstroDetectives. People tune in for astrology, and we get into the brass tacks of economics in this country and inequality, and how student debt is not fair.
And now an ad read from Sally Mae.
Perfect. And moving on to health and self-care. Are there any areas of health, whether it's a major injury or just recurring areas that have been problematic for you over the years?
No, No, I mean the aches and pains and stuff and there. Like, are you talking about like traumatic injuries?
Any injuries or just health issues? Like, headaches are a major thing for me, or
Even
I
if
have
you've had,
irritable
like,
bowel syndrome.
yeah, I was gonna say, even if you just like, you broke your ankle one time, or I don't know. Yeah, IBS is a good one.
Yeah, I love it when Sarah brings that one up. So I thought I'm going to beat her to the punch on IBS.
Whatever you feel like sharing.
Or even anxiety or whatever. Like, these don't all have to be physical, but just if there's an area that has been the bigger concern.
I don't have IBS because I don't let things get to me in that way. And that can be a very nervy disease, right? Like and stress induced and that kind of stuff. And I've learned, and I used to have a lot of trouble sleeping and would grind my teeth and had a lot of that going on. And I learned by doing a better job in the daytime to take care of what those things are that were stressing me out. Goes a long way. Like, there's no magic bullet for some of this stuff. It's like, find time to create, find time to move your body, eat as well as you can. Try to get out, try to get a little bit of sun, even though that's probably bad for you, but like, it feels good. And then when you do that, even if you weren't able to check everything off your list, it makes it easier to externalize those problems, whatever they are, because we all have them. And it makes it easier to get a good night's sleep, because the best thing you can have against these like nervy diseases, and anything with like stress, anxiety, is the best thing you can have is like a good night's sleep and to be hydrated. And it's not like rocket science. So I don't have stuff like that anymore, because I refuse, because I'm too competitive, and I just refuse to like let it in after a certain point in the evening, and I choose sleep.
That's a good t-shirt.
Me too.
Or an eye mask. Actually, I would buy that eye mask. I choose sleep.
But it's fun. It's funny though, because like in the household, part of my sort of like ritual of like getting good sleep is like to empty out my brain, as I start brushing my teeth, as I start doing whatever, I like let it go, and I let this go, and let's go. But like my wife, her version of it is like, she likes to make lists as she's going to bed, because that's like her version of the therapy. So there's like an inversion there where I'm like, there's just nothing besides this pillow. And it's like, hey, did you call the vet? Or hey, did you do the thing? Or hey, like, we got to do the thing, like whatever. And so like we've gotten good at like, figuring out what the interaction is between those two philosophies, because I don't want to, it would be unfair for me to say like, I don't want you like making a bunch of lists in bed because it like makes me uncomfortable. Just don't tell me about what you're doing, like just silently make the list and send me an email or whatever.
Did you say you worked on a health app previously? Did I hear that right? Or did I make that up? A fitness app or something where you were?
Yeah. I've done, so one of the verticals that I've done in my day job, I've done a lot in life sciences. As a communicator, I don't know anything. I'm an English major. I don't know anything. But I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of really smart scientists and MDs and founders, where I'm able to help like articulate their big, beautiful thoughts into human language, because sometimes they have trouble with that.
And you could probably put a lot of apps out of business by just saying hydrate and sleep. Is that what I'm gathering?
Well,
it's okay. You can say it because you no longer work for them.
But what I would say is send it as a postcard, because you don't even want the cell phone near you if you're trying to go to sleep. Like that, get that out of the bedroom. Just send a postcard that says open at 8:30 p.m. So then you don't have the screen. It's tactile. We're going to do it on reclaimed cardboard. That has grass seeds in it. So you just throw it in the backyard when it's done, and it'll rain on it, and it'll have a perfect ecological cycle. and that'll help you sleep even better. And then, yeah, you just lay there and you have a glass of water and you have yourself 8 hours. You're going to be great.
Well, don't hydrate too much before bed, because then I find that can interrupt your sleep.
Yes.
On eating habits.
Sarah's like, back to business. Seriously, you guys.
Sorry, I have like a lot of questions I want to get to, but I just wanted to slip this one in since we were talking about health. But like, what kind of an eater are you? Do you like really rich foods, or are you like kind of eat like a bird, or can you just explain that?
Yeah, like a pterodactyl. Is that a bird?
Okay.
With sound effects?
Cue the sound effects. What's our SFX budget? I want 4 dactyl ideas on my desk tomorrow to choose from. I eat a lot. I love food. I love eating with people. I love making food. Like, I love like sharing. I love sharing. Like a friend of mine came into town the other day unexpectedly, and I was like, I'm going to take you to get the best shrimp wontons you've ever had. Like I love finding the spots and then like bringing something home, or bringing something home to my wife, or that she wasn't expecting. For me, I've got things like pretty like on rails as far as like it's just like a lot of protein and vegetables mostly, except when it's not. And then it's like it's okay, and then it's like pizza party, like cookies, like whatever, but like not, I don't like braid those two. It's almost like it's like that show Severance. Like those are like 2 different versions of me. There's like normal Chris that like goes to work and like, eats salmon. And then there's like party Chris who is like, but I've been pesca, my physician recommended I do pescatarian, and I've done it for a few months now and feel really great. I gotta say, feel a little bouncy in the limbs. I did go to In-N-Out once though. I had to.
The Severance analogy is hilarious. I woke up and how did cookie crumbs get on my shirt?
It was just like, I was like, was I dipping the Pringles in pudding? What is happening? What is this stuff?
I'm working out, but I'm not losing weight. What's happening, other Chris?
Funny aside, like how like after you do a really good job working out and then the next day you wake up and you're kind of sore, but also like if you eat really poorly, the next day you kind of wake up sore. So sometimes when I wake up sore, I have a split second where I'm like, wait, which one is it? Which one did I do?
Virtue or vice? Is this virtue soreness or vice soreness?
Yeah.
Well, my last question before I hand it over to the astrologers for any follow-ups is, how would you describe the last 12 months? If there's like a theme, an area of life that you think was especially relevant over the last 12 months?
Action begets action. And that has become a mantra that whether it's closing new business deals, taking on new projects, taking on new creative projects. I became a fellow at Stony Brook University in their podcast incubator, and I'm doing their TA as well. And just like saying yes a lot. And that included moving to LA. Like we just moved here like 6 days ago or something. And we're very excited to be here. And I'm so excited for like the new energy and for like the churn and for the new spark. So I think that the theme of the last 12 months has been like move, not like literally move, although we did, but like move, like start with energy, start with vigor, start your days with vigor, with purpose. And like, I'm not like trying to be like Power Money Morning podcast, like guy that's like, no, listen, like I take an ice bath at 3 o'clock in the morning and then I like punch raw meat. Like it's more just like, just move, like go for, walk, move, like say yes to the project, say yes to the opportunity, say yes to the unknown a little bit, take your Chihuahua and move to East LA, do whatever you need to do to like, spark those other things, because action begets action. And I've found that time and time again, where if you're paralyzed, it's better to just move, even if you don't know what you're doing. And that's turned out like the opportunities that have presented themselves and matured to me since I adopted that mindset or reminded myself of that mindset, because I think everything's cyclical, have been wonderful. It's the reason I'm talking to you folks right now. It kind of is in that philosophy. It's like, like why not? Let's do this.
He could have said no, and he didn't.
I
He
could have said
yeah,
no.
sure.
I could have
Say
said no.
yes
I don't.
to yes.
I'm busy. I can't do it. And this is great, and I'm glad.
Astrologers, what do you got?
Sorry, I was gonna.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you guys just take it away. I got through the standard questions that the astrologers love me to cover some ground, and now it's a free for all with little specific questions, and these are some of my favorites to hear.
Just out of curiosity, was your move pretty smooth, or was there challenges?
It was oddly smooth because we really planned it, and like it was hard, but it wasn't like logistically like a nightmare or anything. It was just like, oh, we have a mountain of things we have to do, and we have a mountain of things we need to put away in the house so that we can rent it out, and we have a mountain of, it was like, okay, like I'm an early riser, and so there's like a lot of like, okay, I'm in my office at 7 a.m. and then I'm home at 7 p.m. and now we have to bring everything into the basement or pack up every book we have or do whatever. But it was just a project. It wasn't a nightmare. Whereas I think at different phases in my life, it would have felt a little more impossible. And this was just like, all right, okay, so we got to do that. Like, we're going to parcel things out and not get overwhelmed and understand the difference between what are things we can control and what are things we can't, and just kind of have each other's back and, figure out. I think like it's important to figure out who's leading, and I don't always care who's leading, but understanding like who's got the conch. From, you guys read that book, The Kids on the Island?
Happy ending.
Lord of the Flies. They have like a conch to show. I don't know if your listeners have read that, but these boys land on an island and they have a conch which shows that they're allowed to talk. And in any relationship, I think it's important to know who has the conch, so that you can, everything doesn't need to be a committee. Everything doesn't need to be a conversation. It's cool to follow. It's cool to lead, even within the same project, different aspects of it. And I think we were really good at that. And I was pretty much like, you just tell me what to do. Like, I'll just be dumb labor. Like, tell me where you want things moved. If you want a strategic partner, I will be there. I will activate that part of my brain. But for the most part, like, I will just do what you tell me to do. And I'm not going to be generally be like curious about these solutions. You just tell me what's going on and what you need me to tackle. And because of that, we had a good division of labor, and yeah, I think we had clear roles, and she's a great leader.
Okay. Logan, do you have any questions? Because I
do.
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll ask all my rapid fire questions.
All right. Well, Chris, early on, you said something to the effect of, it feels good to be lawless. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I was just talking about the driving conditions in Los Angeles, because it's wild. It's wild out here. Like, it's lawless in New York and it's lawless in Boston, but it's also like there's no like open highway like the way that there is here, where it's like you're in a city, but there's this sprawl, and so there's the basically highways running down the middle of the city streets. That's not how New York or Boston is. You can only go so fast in those cities for the most part. And here you're on Pasadena, and it's freaking Mad Max, it's wild. That's what I meant. I don't mean I interrogated my sense of lawlessness with a couple of friends the other day because of recent current events and stuff. It was well, do we even have to behave anymore? If no one cares, I don't care. And I was I'll do anything now. And they're what would you actually do? And I realized the depth of it, as I felt this growing lawlessness in it, was if I found a big box of stamps, I might not return it to the post office. Whereas previously I would have. I'd be hey guys, you lost your stamps. And now I'm no, you know what? I'm keeping the stamps. So that's about the level of my lawlessness.
Okay. Kind of on that note, I wonder if you could talk about sense of duty and honor and responsibility, and how do those words, what do they light up for you in your soul, or do they not?
They do. I think if we're doing like a D&D chart, I'm in the upper somewhere. I might be chaotic good. I might be or maybe, have they ever updated those? We've updated so many everything else is a spectrum now. Like, are those blocks like outdated now? Is there like, I feel like I could be like chaotic neutral with like a little bit of good, but like mostly neutral or something. I think duty and honor are incredibly important. And I think that there is a code. I was raised with a code beyond my current lawlessness. Like, there's a code of like how to treat people and how to behave in a society and to help people and to protect those that are, unable to protect themselves. And it's not like I'm a freaking paladin out there, like battling villains or anything like that. But if someone, I live in Salem, and most of the time, and Salem is a very, very progressive, artistic, queer friendly, like immigrant friendly place. And, you get these other actors that come in that are, sort of marauding behind the guise of some sort of Christianity or something. And really what they're doing is they're picking on like little queer kids, and it's like they're 50-year-old men like screaming at 11-year-olds. And so like, that's a thing where when there's moments like that, I have a really tough time not feeding into it, because I know that that's what they want, is that they want the reaction, and that it feels justified, and that they would see me as some sort of agent of Satan or something, and like whatever, and it's just so backwards. So yeah, there's like a protective quality that I have for I like bullying is a thing that really gets me going. Like, I don't like bullies at all, and I'm obviously very, very protective of like my own family and the generation that's older than me, or the generations that are younger than me at this point. Like, I like everybody to be safe.
Okay. And then the last one I'll hit you with is, I think you talked about maybe learning to, like with money, for example, learning to temper your enthusiasm or be more strategic. How would you describe the relationship between your head and your heart? Do your emotions surprise you? Do your emotions walk hand in hand with your thought process?
Often I will look up and my emotions are like half a block down, moving very quickly. And then it takes a minute for my head to catch up. That's still, I've often felt that with enthusiasm for, it could be a great piece of art or a great breakfast burrito or, a great song or something that I hear, or, like it's often like, yes, very feeling driven, and then the head will reconcile it later. And I don't mean that in any sort of like irresponsible way of like, I'm going to steal this car or whatever, and we'll deal with the consequences later. It's like, what is this thing I'm being drawn to? What is this market that's happening on the street? Like pull over, like, let's go in here. Like, this feels right. This feels good. This feels like a good place. Let's go in this direction. Let's follow this. Let's follow this sign, whether it be like a literal sign or like some sort of signifier that seems like, oh, like maybe we should, maybe we are supposed to go here. Maybe we are supposed to go to Hermosa Beach instead of Redondo Beach, like it's just, this is the adventure. This is where we're going today. So, I think it's very spirit and heart driven.
Okay. I lied. I have one more. How do you feel about solitude? Are you comfortable? Love it.
I love it. I used to be really bad at it. And I used to be really bad with like solitude and silence. Mm-hmm. And I have gotten much better at it. Like, I love, like, if my wife goes away, I'm chilling. I'm like, I used to be like, I'm gonna, let's get the boys together and like we're gonna return to our feral state and we're gonna get it going. And like now I'm like, I want to be alone. Like I want to like maybe watch a Knicks game and do some laundry and chill at home and just be there, or go get a nice meal by myself too, because I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship where you're not satisfied culinarily with the other person, because maybe you have different ways that you like to eat or different things you like to eat and whatnot. And so, you end up in the middle making a lot of compromises. But there's places I will go food wise that she won't go. And so, I'll usually have a nice meal by myself and then, chill by myself. I love solitude.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Chris, I have some questions for you, but I have so many that it's best if you could just keep it as brief as possible.
Okay.
Just so we don't go too long. Yeah. So when you were growing up, what was your parents' relationship with money? Did they have a lot of money? Did they have to work really hard for money?
Hard workers, very hard workers. My dad was a small business owner. So same thing, like always had to take care of his own expenses and the money. I remember going to the PO box with him and you didn't know if there was going to be 50 or 0 or 500 or $5,000, because everything was being billed in different ways. And, I don't even think they used the term net 30. So I think I learned about money and the perils and the opportunity and the freedom of small business ownership probably at a very
So there was
early age.
A lot of emphasis on financial security and the importance of it.
It was more about hard work. It was like if you work hard, some days this PO box will be full of checks. Some days it won't. And so you just got to go work harder.
Great imagery. I can tell you're a great writer.
Well, no, I've never articulated it in that way before, but I'm going to text my dad that after.
Yeah, I love that. Sorry, I just forgot my next question. I'm just trying to, were you guys kind of like middle class, upper middle class? Was that?
No, I think we were upper working class.
Okay.
Or working class. Like we didn't do a lot of like big vacations or anything. Like my mom would take us to New Hampshire for the afternoon. Like we lived in Connecticut, and it was kind of really creative. Like, and we never wanted anything. We never like needed anything or wanted anything. But like, I think part of that was a magic, some of that was like a little bit of magic of like parent magic of being able to make things out of not so many resources, which is, I think the inventiveness of my mother.
Okay, great. And are you messy or clean? Or are you kind of in between?
Kind of in between. In certain environments, I'm very structured, and then in other environments, I'm a little crazy. Like there's like, I don't know, my desk gets really messy, but that's like an intergenerational thing for O'Keefe's.
If I wanted to borrow something from you, are you good at like lending things, or do you not like people kind of touching your stuff?
I would just give it to you probably, depending on what it was. But I don't care if you want to use it. But like a maxim I always learned is like, don't lend something that you're not willing to give away, especially money.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you wanted to use like my good microphone, I would need it back. But like I would give you like, I have like an extra USB microphone that I would give you.
That's very generous of you. Have you ever, so when you were growing up, I forgot to ask, do you have any siblings?
I do.
Okay. How many, and what's your relationship with them?
Yeah, I have 2 sisters, and I'm in a lot of contact with one of them, and the other one I don't see all that much.
Okay. Were they older, younger?
Both.
Okay, you're in the middle.
But it's interesting, right? Because my older sister is technically she's my sister, but she's technically my half sister. And so she didn't live with us until high school. And so I was the oldest in our household. And then sometimes I was sort of the middle. But I think I very much identify with being the oldest, being the eldest child.
Have you moved a lot in your lifetime? Or do you like to just move a place and then just set up, put your roots down? Or do you like moving?
I don't necessarily like moving. I tend to be like, I'll spend almost a decade in a place and then move. And then that's kind of been it. And the places that I've chosen to live have all been cities that have different opportunity and vibes to them.
Okay. And are you a restless person, or are you able to kind of sit peacefully?
Both. Sometimes I'm able, like I have a tough time at certain events if I think it's a waste of time or it's not interesting, or I'd rather be somewhere else. But like I've gotten much better at, like, if I'm controlling the conditions, I can chill a lot better.
Okay. So you own your own business. Do you really like that's right. Or do you also work for a company too?
Right now I have only freelance clients.
Okay.
So I'm consulting. I have off and on and usually it happens with it's a relationship I've already had, or it's a client that I already have, and it kind of blooms into a larger full-time engagement. So,
and you prefer having control and autonomy?
Every year is different, and every situation is different. There was, in 2020, I was consulting in 2020, if you remember, weird year. And I was like, I think it would be a good idea to have a job right now. And, that's what, and so that was some external forces, but also it was opportunity driven as well. I think there's been an evolution with the way that people think about, like, a job isn't an identity the way it used to be, like work for 30 years and get your watch and, you're whatever, I can't even think of an old company. What's an old company? You're a Coca-Cola man. And that's like kind of your identity. I think like everyone's better now at like being like, okay, what do I want? What kind of experience do I want? What kind of revenue and monetary like thing do I need? And like, can I ally myself with this company for 2 or 3 years and serve them and get something out of it and kind of move in and out? So like, I think things are a little more fluid. I wouldn't be opposed to like having the same job for 30 years. I think like that's the dream. That's my dream. I would like to just do the work and not have to do all the small business owner stuff. But you also have to be like fluid and flexible and honest about appraising the conditions that you're in, not the conditions that got you to that point. Like,
let me rephrase. So if money was not an issue, do you, in the day-to-day in a project, do you like to be in control, or are you like to like, tell me what to do and I'll work on it?
80-20, like there's always multiple projects going on. Right. And I think 80% of the time I would like to be kind of dictating terms a little bit and driving things. But then it's also very nice and when it's explicit, to say like, hey, like, I'm just here. This is this version of me. Like, this is like strategy, Chris. Like, and I'm here to do this. And then it's like, hey, I'm your little buddy, like tactical Chris. Like, I'm here to like execute your vision. And that's nice. That's nice too. It uses different, you run out of executive function before you run out of energy, or at least I do. And so I like to have some stuff that is sort of defined for me, so I can still do more stuff, whatever it is, and not have to be executive function.
Okay. On your survey, you said the category you have experienced the most struggle and challenge in life is work and career. Is that just because of not, the inconsistency and how much checks are coming in, or is it some other reason?
Being a creative professional is very hard. It's very hard because you're not just taking a job off the rack and putting it on like a pantsuit. I don't know why it's a pantsuit. It's, you're usually everyone that I know that is comes from a creative discipline and has forged forward and has a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset or intrapreneurial mindset or whatever, has times where they're riddled with doubt, or they are not they're not meeting the professional or financial milestones that they thought they would be, or they're accelerating and they're too busy and there's so much bounty happening that they're not able to get their arms all around it, and they have to let certain things go, which is another kind of problem to have. Like it's truly like a feast and famine. As a creative professional, it's very difficult to not be overcommitted or underworked, and to have that equilibrium point. And when you can get that, and if you can have that calibration and you can hang on to it for 3 months or 6 months or 2 years, it's one of the best feelings in the world. And the rest of the time it can be a struggle, not in like abject failure, but it takes a lot of concentration and it takes a lot of imagination, and it's kind of like bold to like look at a patch in the universe and be like, I think I can do better than that, whether it's silence or whether it's a blank wall or whether it's a blank page, like it's like being creative. I don't know how to not be like didactic about this. It's like being creative is the ultimate creative act or something. That's stupid. I strike that from the record. Did I answer your question? You told me to be short, and
no, it's okay. It's okay. Sorry, I had another question on the tip of my tongue. And do you have like a life philosophy, or maybe to put it another way, like what would you want on your tombstone kind of thing?
I do not camp. I don't camp. I don't like it. I think life is hard enough. We're like work hard. I have these walls, I have a kitchen. Like, why would I go out in the woods and build a fake house? Like, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm anti. And it's a thing I'm trying to get used to, because like in Los Angeles, like we're used to walking everywhere on the East Coast, and like love walking. Like, wouldn't drive my car for months at a time sometimes, like walk everywhere, take trains and stuff like that. And here, are you both from LA, like native?
I'm in Dallas.
I'm the only one in LA.
Dallas. Okay. So it's weird, because it's like they won't walk anywhere. They won't walk a block, but they'll drive for 45 minutes to go walk around a cactus and call it a hike, which is like a weird dynamic. I'm like, why didn't you just walk to where you were going? You would have.
Because we've seen that place already. We see that place all the time when we drive by it. Why do we want to walk by it?
So I'm getting used to that. I have my office and my home are walkable to each other. And so I'm like recreated a little East Coast existence out here.
Okay. I just have 2 more questions for you. So you had mentioned that you have like Irish and German roots. Are your parents, were they born here? Who immigrated? Was it grandparents, great grandparents, or how far back?
It was great grandparents.
Okay. So not your parents or anything.
No.
Okay. And then I kind of asked this before, but I didn't get it. So have you, you said you don't like moving. You like to stay in one place for like 10 years. But when you were growing up, did you happen to move a lot?
No, I was born in Maryland. Wait, am I not supposed to say that?
That's fine. No, you can say that.
No.
Okay. But we moved when I was like 4 years old, and we moved to Connecticut, and then we stayed in the same area until I was 21. Like we moved a couple times.
What area, by the way?
Glasgow, Connecticut. It's another one of those in between places. There's some like in betweeniness I feel like in my character, because like Connecticut is tri-state area, but it's also New England. We lived in this place called Glasgow, which like was Voluntown, but it was also Griswold. Am I the oldest? Am I the middle child? There's some identity stuff there that I've noticed. There's a pattern of sort of like being in between a little bit.
I grew up in Burlington, Connecticut, so that's really funny. Yeah. Do you know where this? It's on the other side of the state.
Yeah, I know where Burlington is.
Okay. Funny.
Can't get barbecue like Dallas and Burlington, Connecticut.
No. I funny, like I grew up, we had like 1 or 2 Mexican restaurants, and sometimes my mom would make like tacos for dinner, and it would be like Ortega. So when I moved to Texas, I was so anti-Mexican food. I was like, no, let's get some Italian. But that quickly changed when I learned what real Tex-Mex and Mexican food are.
Yeah, I've been working on a poem about the sort of developing taste of like going from Chi-Chi's salsa in Connecticut, like with like lettuce, taco, into like then going to Mystic, Connecticut to the Mexican restaurant there and be like, no, this is the real. And as you get farther and farther, you get to New York, it's like, yeah, but it's not West Coast. You get to West Coast, it's like it's SoCal. You got to go over the border to get the real stuff. And there's always this like arms race of like better, more authentic versions of whatever kind of food that you're interested in. And so it's a lifelong journey, and I'm here for it. And I'm probably going to get tacos after this.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to give you a little bit of a taco break as the astrologers confer with themselves over some of the answers that you've given, about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to put you back into the waiting room, and then we'll pull you out and see if the chart that they picked is the correct chart.
I'm excited, and I'll stop talking because Sarah told me to stop talking.
Let's see. I need to find the right button here. I'm putting you in the waiting room. Okay. Until then. All right, astrologers, give you a couple minutes to figure out which chart you're leaning towards, and then we will find out if you're right.
Okay, Logan. So, which way are you leaning, or do you have any impressions?
I do. I'm trying to be careful compared to last time.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I ran into this session of the show, or this part of the show, and thought, I know exactly who it is. And I was wrong. So.
Oh, yeah. That's happened to me many times.
After meeting Chris, I'm leaning towards the Leo chart a little bit.
Okay. That's where I'm at too.
So this happened last time. So now Logan is experiencing panic.
Well, this is why I was really trying to come up with some questions. Sometimes I forget to do this, but I really was trying to ask him some questions based on the Sagittarius chart.
Yeah.
Because a Sagittarius, someone with like a lot of Sag and Virgo, that could be a writer too.
Absolutely.
With their Mercury chart ruler. But the Leo chart, their chart ruler is Venus in the 3rd house. And that house is all about writing. It's about singing, poetry, because it's in Cancer. His whole life, like he said, if I could sum up my whole career life in one word, it's writer. And immediately I was like thinking of that. And I think he even mentioned podcasting too. I forgot to ask.
He did. And he also, so the Cancer part of the ruler of the chart in Cancer, he talked a lot about sharing food with his family, sharing food with his close friends, and
writing breakfast poems.
Right. And I think there's some Taurus there too. So there's Taurus rising ruled by Venus and Cancer. I was trying to feel for the Sagittarius chart. That chart is also a Sun-Neptune conjunction, pretty darn tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting that person to be, or that chart to be a little bit more wispy somehow.
Yeah. That's why I asked him,
like, so what centered and grounded.
Yeah. And I asked him, what is your, whenever I see a Sag chart, I'm like, what's your philosophy? Or like, I want to see what they could say to that. And he said, I do not camp, which I thought was so funny because that sounds more like the Leo Taurus to me, not the Sag.
Not a Sag.
Really want to explore. And a lot of times Virgo risings with their I see in Sag, or a lot of stuff in the Sag in the fourth house, they move a lot. And, the Virgo and Sag is both mutable signs. So there would be so much movement there. And that's why I was trying to get a sense of, like, do you like moving? Did you have to move a lot? Doesn't sound like it, So I'm trying to think if, and it sounded like he had a very physical upbringing, which reminded me of the Taurus. Like, his mom showed him how to type on a typewriter. His dad showed him how to, like, load a camera, play a guitar. Like, those are all very Taurus physical things, Virgo's risings usually teach themselves things, I think. So yeah, all we can do, Logan, is our best. And if we're wrong, then we will learn something new today.
Yeah. Well, tell me if I have confirmation bias, because I started writing a bunch of keywords.
Yes. Yeah.
I heard him, one of the first words I heard him say was mastery, like his writing as mastery or something to that effect, which immediately made me think, oh, Virgo. But everything after that was playfulness, love of language, looking for oomph, looking for spark, looking to inspire people. And to me, that just feels Sun, Moon in Leo and North Node in Leo. And the question about lawlessness, I was trying to feel for the South Node tendency of Aquarius, the outlaw, the exile, rather than South Node in Capricorn, the responsible person who holds it all together. I might be just digging myself a hole, but
we both these charts have Earth rising and they have fire sun, but one of them, the Leo Taurus, is fixed, and the Virgo Sag is mutable. And so, someone with a lot of fixed energy is going to be very kind of more set in their ways. I thought it was funny, the story that he said about, Grandma, you're sitting in my chair. I was going to follow that up with, are you kind of possessive about your things? That's why I was asking that. Like, could I borrow,
Yeah, good question. I was looking, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done. Yeah.
Some of the things that I wrote even before we started this recording tonight, I thought, like, look for a warm mother. And that was for the Leo chart. And I think I felt some of that. Whereas with the Virgo moon chart, I was thinking, look for maybe a little more analytical, aloof mother. Maybe that's unfair of me.
Yeah. Well, no, I do think, though, like, that Virgo Sag axis is square can produce someone who is very anxious, very restless, very, like, nervous kind of energy and likes to be on the go. I kind of know somebody with that energy, and they're constantly moving, constantly. But during the interview, he was very kind of still, or at least that's how he appeared. And
there's a center about him.
Yeah. He said peacefulness at one point. That sounded very Taurus. He said when he was talking about his wife, he used the word safe and calm.
And I wrote notes about that, but I got thinking, Scorpio on the Descendant, maybe that would be interesting. The cast of characters, looking for friends that fit different archetypes.
Yeah, I will say I did look at, he only gave 2 transit dates, the date he was married and engaged. And I looked at those for both the charts. And to me, it was much more straightforward for the Taurus chart. Like, he had, I think it was like Venus was transiting the 7th house during the marriage date. So that was kind of like, seemed pretty straightforward. The other one I wasn't getting there as easily.
All right. So did we get there on one of these 2 charts?
Yes, we've come to a decision and we are on the same page.
Woo! What are we going with?
Well, you'll find out, Scott.
Well, I think we normally say it. You'll find out.
Yeah, we're going with the Leo.
Okay, and we're in agreement this time. It's not a split?
Nope.
All right. Well, then we're going to split for 1 minute with an ad break. And then on the other side, we'll see if they're correct, if we indeed have a Leo, right after this.
Hey, Astro Detective listeners, this is your resident astrologer, Sarah Hartshorn, and I wanted to let you know about my coaching practice called My Cosmic Coach, where I offer natal astrology readings, human design readings, and a whole lot more. And right now, for fans of the Astro Detectives podcast, I'm offering $25 off my signature one-on-one coaching session. This is a holistic approach I developed that will guide you through any kind of decision you're trying to make or challenge you're navigating, where we're going to consult both your human design and astrology charts and even pull a few cards too. And you'll walk away with really clear, really practical, and actionable advice that is aligned and specific just to you. So head on over to mycosmiccoach.com and use promo code AstroDetectives at checkout when you book a one-on-one coaching session with me. That's mycosmiccoach.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We've finished our astrology huddle. They have decided, and they are on the same page, choosing the same chart. We have Chris back with us to let us know if the astrologers are correct or not. Sarah, what are you guys thinking?
All right, Chris, just to tell you like what we were choosing between a Leo and a Sagittarius. Are you a Leo?
I'm not.
Whoa! This is where the fireworks go off.
Oh, God.
This is
Sarah,
what makes
we have a conclusion. You have heard bad yes.
This is what makes the after show especially fun, because they unwrap the details a little bit. They kind of figure out where did things go wrong. Chris, you're able to stick around for a little bit and kind of help them connect the dots on how they chose the chart they did.
Yeah, but you mentioned another sign.
Oh, the other sign, they were given 2 signs to choose from. So they just chose, there was a right sign and a wrong sign.
So
and
are
they chose
you
the wrong one.
Sagittarius?
I am Sagittarius. That's
Okay.
so you gave him 2 fire signs. Interesting.
Oh, is Chris into astrology?
Well, no, it's interesting because I used to be, growing up, I used to be a Scot, and I used to be the Scully of the relationship with my best friend, who was a Sarah, who was the Fox Mulder of the relationship, who was deep, deep, deep into astrology. And we used to fight about it all the time. And I am a Sagittarius and he is a Leo. And so just from like, as I went out into the world, I was like, holy shit, I know a lot about, sorry, can I swear? I was like, holy smokes, yeah. I accidentally know all this stuff about astrology, and like, it has kind of become I'm much more into it now, as kind of a little bit of flavor, for life. So,
I'm glad you didn't let it influence your answers, and we're going to get some more details on that. But for now, do you want to let everybody know where they can go if they wanted to find out about some of the projects you mentioned working on? If our audience could visit any of those shows, or where would you want to point people?
Yeah, you could check me out at ok-creative.com. That's the language agency. That's my general creative agency. I love different kinds of creative projects. I'm sort of addicted to collaboration. And so like, I would love to hear what you're working on. And if we can somehow work together, you can email me at chris@ok-creative.com.
And Logan, I know that you work as an intuitive, and can you let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, primarily what I do is more of a psychic thing, more so than an astrological thing. But you can reach me at akashiclogan@gmail.com.
That sounds great. And that's it, everyone. Let us know what you thought by commenting on whatever platform you follow us on. Links to our accounts are in the show notes. If you like the show and want to support it, you can visit patreon.com/AstroDetectives. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss the next episode. Rate and review and tell your friends, although I'm not sure how much the ratings help. I heard the whole thing about how you just need to like it, and that recommends it to other people. Who knows? Keep rating and reviewing, why not? Tell your friends. And then sign up at patreon.com/AstroDetectives, which is where you'll find the following episode where the debrief is for free. So until next time, this case is closed. Why not finish this season with the clunkiest outro read of all
You can
time?
always redo it.
Nope.